Hi, everyone. Welcome to the November New York Tech Meetup. We are very happy to have you here with us. And give me a moment while I find my screen. So many different screens open. Are you seeing my slides? Everybody good? Okay. So again, we have a very terrific meetup scheduled for you today. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening. I hope you enjoyed some networking prior to the start of the program, and tonight's theme is all about accessibility. Before we get started, I want to just say a few quick thank yous and announcements and introduce myself. Let me see if I can find the right, my screen disappeared, so I have no idea what I'm showing right now. Ah, there it is. If you're in the AirMeet environment, can you just do a thumbs up so I can see that you're seeing our screen? Oh, perfect. I'm seeing it come through. Perfect. So a little bit about myself. I'm Andy Saldana. I'm the Executive Director of New York Tech Alliance. We're a nonprofit organization based here in New York City, driving access and equity and inclusion within the tech ecosystem to make it the most diverse and dynamic in the world. If you want to learn more about our organization, please check us out at nytech.org. And you can always email me at andy@nytech.org. A quick privacy statement: we are recording this is more for the speakers than anything else, that we are recording this for our channel, and we are streaming live, so just be aware. Tonight's agenda, we're going to start with a few quick thank yous, some ground rules, then we'll get to the demos, presentations, and then if there's anybody in the audience that has some asks and offers, I'll read them out at the end of the event. To place your ask and offer in the session, just put it in the chat in AirMeet, and I will pick it up either in the Q&A or in the chat. That goes for any comments or questions that you might have for the speakers or presenters as well. We can't do this without the support of our annual partners, so a big shout out to all of our annual partners that support the programming for New York Tech Alliance. Everybody from Crown Castle to MasterCard StartPath to Nation Builder. I encourage you to check them out on our website, nytech.org/partners. Our next event, we have two amazing events coming up. The first one is a Founder Spotlight, a one-on-one conversation with Tanya Van Court, who's built this amazing, really cool app. So we encourage you to register for that now and check it out. We talk about decisions made early on, decisions about scaling, how she created product. It'll be a really fantastic conversation. So we encourage you to check it out coming up next week. And then later in November, on November 18th, we are doing an education panel, the latest trends in negotiating early stage VC term sheets. It's going to be very informative. We have a great panel of VCs, and Paul Ellis from our board will be participating and moderating. So it's going to be a fantastic panel. If you're an early stage startup founder, I definitely encourage you to check that out. You can always find our events at nytech.org/our-events. If you are planning a tech event, we always encourage you to submit it to our community calendar at nytech.org/events. And then, as always, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you're watching all of our videos, like them, and then you can always find us at youtube.com/New York Tech Alliance. If you like what we do, you can also support us either by making a small donation at the end of when you RSVP at the virtual events, becoming an individual or a corporate member of New York Tech Alliance, or simply making a small donation. And now the ground rules. Please use the chat and Q&A to interact with the presenters or the audience. I will be monitoring and definitely bringing those questions to the presenters. We ask that you be present during the presentations and that you also be respectful. Before we get to the presentations tonight, we do have a special guest with us talking about Xandr. She did not come into the Zoom, so she's actually not here. But quickly, just a quick announcement, a very special thank you to Xandr for supporting the New York Tech Meetup. When we were in person, they hosted us every every month. And then in the digital space, they're also supporting us by helping us bring this to you via our virtual platform. They are hiring like crazy. So they have a couple of people in the audience that are recruiters from Xandr. I recommend you highly connecting with them, connecting with me if you want to get connected to them. And we are happy to make those connections. All right, and that's enough from me. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mariella. Mariana Paulino is our guest MC, amazing host. She's not only a friend, but an amazing colleague. We've worked together in the past on a couple of past presentations and programs, and she's just an amazing advocate within the hearing space, an amazing advocate within the accessibility space, and just an amazing person. She's I have such joy every time I get to talk to her. So Mariella, come to the stage and I'll let you take it on from here.
All right, thank you so much for putting this event together, Andy. So before we get started, can you hear me okay? Fantastic. So excited about talking about my favorite thing ever, accessibility. And so before we get started, my name is Mariana Paulino. I am a Hispanic woman. I am wearing a black sweater with a purple power vest. In my background is a purple background with the Knowbility logo. And underneath it, it says, making the web accessible. So I am a Hispanic woman of Dominican background, and I am also the director of marketing and communications for Knowbility. Knowbility is an incredible organization, and I'm not just saying that because I work for them and they pay my rent basically, but I just really love waking up every Monday morning and knowing that I am a part of an incredible community that is actually making the world a better place, that is making the digital world a better place. And I am just so excited about the panel that we have here today. So we have Kamala, we have Cameron, we have Blaine, we have Thomas. Oh my God, Thomas, this is a power team. But anyway, let's get started because we've got quite a few demos. Each one of us is here to talk about some of the incredible work we are doing, with the hope that at the end of today's meetup, you will go out there, seize the world, and make the world more accessible. So let's get started with our first demo, which is going to be my employer, Knowbility. So at Knowbility, we do audits, we do consulting, we do training, anything that deals with making the web accessible. That is what we do. So Andy, whenever you are ready to play that video and help us get this party on the road, let us know.
Sounds good. I'm just pulling it up and sharing the screen right now. So it'll be 1 second while I get that transition done. Dominic, you should see it. Perfect. There we are, Dominic. Oh, great. Great to see you again.
Likewise.
Fantastic. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Knowbility was created with a vision of inclusion. We wanted to be sure that people with disabilities were included in all the opportunities of the newly emerging web. 20 years later, organizations still struggle with making their websites accessible to people with disabilities. And this is because tech professionals too often lack the skills and training to build with accessibility in mind. Since 1998, Knowbility has produced an annual competition known as the Accessibility Internet Rally, where, over the course of 6 weeks, tech professionals build accessible websites for nonprofit organizations. Participants learn from and are supported by experts in the digital accessibility field. We also bring people together every year in May for Access U to explore the latest accessibility technologies and practices. Access U is a practical training conference with classes taught by renowned accessibility leaders. In the works are projects like the K-12 Toolkit and a conference for educators to help schools use technology to better serve and include students with disabilities. We also host monthly Toolkit Tuesdays, accessibility office hours, social hours, and dozens of community events to create supportive spaces where you can learn about tech access and share the stories of people with disabilities. Right now, we need your help. You can sign up for our newsletter to stay in the know on the latest web accessibility news. Make a simple donation or sponsor us through your employer. Register for our conferences or volunteer for community events to expand your accessibility skill set. Whatever your role, wherever you are in your journey for accessibility, we at Knowbility are here to support you. Go to www.knowbility.org to get started. We look forward to having you join us in pursuit of our mission to create a more inclusive digital world for people with disabilities.
And that is our quick pitch demo. So just last week, we hosted an online virtual screening of the Oscar-nominated movie Crip Camp. If you have not watched it, you have to promise me you're going to get a glass of wine, some popcorn, and you're going to go out and watch it tonight on Netflix. We also had 2 weeks before that, we had a panel. We actually had Camila Arroyo on that panel and 2 other professionals with disabilities talking about having disabilities, employment, best practices, challenges. The video will be coming out at the end of this week, and I encourage all of you to check it out. The second organization I'm going to talk briefly about for our demo today is going to be an incredible organization all of us need to know about, known as Teach Access. If you are a college student, if you are someone that works with junior software developers, junior designers, people that are at the beginning of their careers that are trying to get technical skills to improve web accessibility, Teach Access is a program that partners with universities and higher education institutions to be able to ingrain these computer science programs, these design programs with accessibility expertise. 20 years after Knowbility was created, we are still struggling with a dearth of technical talent that actually understands and knows about accessibility. So the next video I'm going to play for our demo today is going to be a video from Teach Access, an amazing organization you need to tell students, professors, educators in your life about. So Andy, are you ready for that second demo?
Yes, I'm getting it queued right now.
Right, I'm fired up. All right, so let's get that second.
Darren Burton, accessibility consultant.
I teach a class for our new hires, and yeah, they look at me like I'm from Mars. What are you talking about, accessibility?
Darren Burton's experience isn't unique. According to the Partnership on Employment and Accessible Technology, PEAT, today's students aren't learning the skills they need to make technology usable by everyone, including people with disabilities, even though it's a skill that the tech industry is actively recruiting for. And that's the impetus for Teach Access, according to founding member Larry Goldberg, Director of Accessible Media at Oath.
Teach Access is a collaboration among major tech companies, higher education institutions, and advocacy organizations, all with the mission of making sure that our next generation of technology is born accessible. We're bringing the learning of accessible design and development to higher ed, and by we, I mean companies like Apple, Adobe, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Oath.
Many students and faculty have told Teach Access that their schools could be doing more to prepare them for tech jobs after graduation. To address this need, in May of 2018, Teach Access kicked off a week-long study away program in Silicon Valley, made up of 26 students and 7 faculty members from California State University Northridge, Michigan State University, Olin College of Engineering, and the University of Colorado. Katie Musil, major experience architecture, Michigan State University.
We haven't reached a point where we can probably confidently go into the workforce just with experience from our classes.
Kate Sonka, Assistant Director of Academic Technology, Michigan State University.
We can be doing more with our students while they're still on campus. The common theme that we're hearing from these tech companies is that they really value people who even know just a little bit. This all will, of course, translate to employment opportunities.
Anderson Day, major experience architecture.
Let's stop
Michigan State
here,
University.
Andy.
Got really passionate for web Mariella, you're muted.
Mariella, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was talking into the abyss. So we are kicking off today's meetup with two incredible organizations doing incredible work. You have got to follow Teach Access. If you're an alumni of a college, make sure that you're reaching out to people, that you're letting people know about the incredible work that is happening within Teach Access. And if you are a business owner, if you're an organization, if you are a software developer, if you're a person in a position of power, make sure that you're reaching out to organizations like Knowbility for your usability testing, the accessibility of your website, and that kind of digital accessibility expertise that is actually needed to make the world accessible. It's not just about saying, putting a picture and saying, let's make the future accessible. It's about doing the work. And now we're going to pass it along to our first official speaker of the day, Thomas, who is one of the co-founders of Equal Entry. Thomas, I am so excited to hear you speak. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Let's do this. This is full circle.
And it's purple. Yeah, I decided to wear purple so we could match. Great. So guys, I am Thomas Logan, and I have a company, Equal Entry. We focus on making different technology products accessible. I am Tech Thomas on LinkedIn and Twitter. So today what I'm going to do is talk to you about basically just some quick examples from a lot of the major platforms that exist in technology today of things that I think are interesting or exciting in 2021. So the first one is on iOS. So you have this idea of being able to create an emoji, make a representation of yourself. So in iOS 15, they've added more functionality for making the avatar accessible. So here on the screen, an example is actually being able to style your emoji to have a cochlear implant. Some people wear a cochlear implant on the left side, some people on the right side, some people wear it on both sides. So this is showing like really heavy customization and flexibility to really get your emoji to kind of be exactly how you show up in the world, if that's what you want to do. So I really applaud that. And I think that's something important when people do have these avatar builders, to be inclusive and let people represent how they are in the real world in sort of a virtual world. And so another example in iOS 15, they have the oxygen tube now for people that use oxygen tubes. And they also have the soft helmet, which might be used by someone who is prone to epilepsy or seizures. So those are just some examples. There's more features in there, but really like that, and think that's great that Apple's done that. A lot more companies should follow suit. Keep going. Now on Android, one of the new things in Android 12, which is the latest operating system, is face gestures, so that you can basically control your phone and have it do things using facial gestures like smiling or winking.
Project Activate for Android enables people who don't speak or use their hands to use facial gestures to communicate and connect in the moment. When you want to express yourself, your face can say a lot. But what if it could express even more? Project Activate uses face gesture detection to pair your movement with a preset action, so you can send a message like call a caregiver, speak phrases, and even play audio. You can open your mouth to text, "Please come here." Look to the left to tell your driver yes.
Yes.
Or raise your eyebrows to show how you feel about that goal, right there and then, so you can be part of the moment. We all need to express ourselves, and now it's easier with Project Activate, created by Google for Android.
So basically this is using like a camera switch interface, but you can then assign gestures. And so the iPhone has had a few of these, like looking left, looking right. But I think it's pretty cool in this mode. They've added things like raising your eyebrows, smiling, opening your mouth, and you can set up, as they showed in that quick video, custom functionality. So maybe in your life, calling someone, calling a specific phone number is something you need to do quite a bit. That can all be customized and set up with this tool. Love that. Windows 11 came out this year, so they have added voice typing, which is a feature they've had, but now it's much more surfaced in the UI. So here, I'm going to kind of put this down a little bit, but this is the new Windows 11 for voice dictation. And basically the person is demonstrating inside of OneNote speaking.
New paragraph. With auto punctuation enabled, periods and commas are added automatically. New paragraph. Voice typing has been around for a long time, but the improvements in recent months are fantastic.
Yeah, so this is similar to how we're seeing like closed captioning getting better and better, and automation. I mean, voice recognition is getting better and better. And so this is just now like a very like built-in sort of, there's a key command to pull up this voice dictation. It can also be triggered via like a voice command, such as like Cortana. So you could do kind of hands-free entry. And as they were mentioning, it's doing a lot better with adding like punctuation. So used to with voice dictation, you have to say insert comma or period, those types of things. So they've been trying to get that more natural and less work for people that want to use this. Another one that's just small, but I'm kind of happy about is now Windows 11 calls accessibility. They used to call it ease of access. So now you kind of have consistency on all Mac, Windows, iOS, Android. They all call accessibility the same word. So it's a small change, but kind of a big change. Mac OS 15. So I like this feature. This is also on iOS, but there's this focus states maybe for people with ADHD, for example. So you have the ability now, instead of just turning on do not disturb and saying I'm not available, you can set specific people that you want to receive notifications from, and you can also say certain applications. So maybe if you do need to be responsive on like Slack, you can make Slack send you notifications, but you can make all the other applications sort of not send you messages. Also this feature, it's a little bit questionable. I like this, but I know it's also kind of made some people feel uncomfortable, but in like your iMessage history, it will show people when you're in focus mode. And so it kind of is telling people if they are writing you, hey, you're interrupting someone, so that you can sort of take the initiative as the person writing them to say, well, I'm going to write them anyway. But it is interesting that you can choose to communicate that to people so they can know that you're like, hey, I'm trying to focus right now. It kind of automates that for you. So I really like that as, just advancing features for how we can focus and not get overwhelmed with notifications. And then my last three quick examples, I'm real into virtual reality. So these are things that I just find very interesting. There's a lot of caveats with these things, but one here is a virtual reality simulation of basically an experience of simulating nearsighted and farsighted. So we've seen these things, right, like in maybe on like desktop applications, but in VR, when you're like wearing a headset and you can actually pick up glasses in this experience, and you kind of are getting more of a like, again, it's not going to be an exchange for someone's experience, but it does help you sort of understand like, oh, when I'm nearsighted, I have to get closer to elements to be able to read them. And this is a Japanese example. Voxel Kai developed this, but I do think this is an interesting space in VR. There's questions on people saying, let's not have VR be a way to simulate disability. And people say, oh, I understand someone's experience by trying this. I think that's something to be aware of, but then also it's interesting to help people actually understand more of like what the real world experience is like. VR is an interesting place to explore that and to test out these ideas. Another thing that I find sort of trending and happens on mobile devices too, but VR has these new accessibility rules that are about trying to always use visual, audio, and haptic feedback all together. And if you can use all three of those, again, this is going to be something good for people with disabilities, because maybe if you can't hear the notification, but you can see the notification, or you can feel a vibration. The more that we make interactions have all of these cues, the better. So this is just a funny example from a game called Vacation Simulator. You do pick up a like shaver to buzz your hair, and your hand controller starts buzzing in your hand. So you can actually feel like the vibration, and you can hear the buzzing sound. And then you can do the action of actually moving the shaver like over your head to shave your head. So it kind of has all of these notifications all built into one experience. And my last example that I think is very cool, this is like probably the most Star Trek experience that I've had in VR, but you have the ability to, in addition to doing closed captions, have the captions translated into your language. So we've done some meetups in Microsoft's alt space. Example I'm going to show you is someone speaking in German, but I'm reading the captions in Japanese. So this is sort of the configuration UI. You say, here's my spoken language, what I'll be speaking. And then you can also change it to like how you want to read the caption. So it's kind of just getting into this, hey, when we work with people globally, we might be speaking different languages.
Also wir sprechen hier Deutsch und es wird auf Englisch übersetzt.
Yeah, that looks good.
Ja, und es ist sogar korrekt. Ich sehe es in meinem eigenen Text unten.
Right, so you would need to be able to speak Japanese to get that, but the audio there going was German speech, and then the display is Japanese. And in this one also basically having someone speak in English or Japanese.
It's working.
And have it displayed in Japanese.
誘われてここにやってきました。私たち日本人は英語を話さないので。
So it was just something really cool when we've had this meetup. Like it's been very compelling. I mean, some of the languages work better than others. It's like, still getting there, like the same way we're getting there with automated captions. But I definitely think it's something very exciting, and it's about inclusion too of people that, might not, for example, speak English, but want to participate in events. This is something, new that actually could enable people to be able to participate. And with that, we mentioned one of the co-organizers of Accessibility New York City and have a meetup, Accessibility VR. So I think we dropped links. Cameron already dropped links into the air chat. But yeah, we'd love to have you at one of those events. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you all today, and have time for 1 or 2 questions if there are any.
So we have got our first question from Xian, and the question is, as an advocate, I've learned about all these incredible features, but find there is no promotion and awareness building of these features. Why do you think that is?
Yes, well, I think it's basically just when certain features either get chosen to be part of the ad campaigns or how they showcase them. I mean, I think of Microsoft with the adaptive Xbox controller. I mean, they ran that in the Super Bowl, so that one got wide knowledge. But then a lot of those features that I was showing here, these are just like one-off blog posts. I mean, so I kind of needed to go search for these or like read almost from the technology company, hey, what did you put out new? As you see, they make videos for them, but I think that's partially then, what I try to do then too is just expose people. These assets are out there. So I guess sharing them on social media and, collecting them and helping make people be aware of them. But I do think, those companies should also try to put them more in their mainstream marketing materials as well.
I think you made a really, really good point earlier, Thomas, when you talked about automatic captioning. If we look at things like automatic captioning, we've seen widespread adoption of that technology because COVID happened, people came online. And so the people that actually needed that service just exploded. And so I'm really curious if a lot of these things that you're talking about, like the virtual reality captions that are translated, if we're going to see that that kind of market also explode as our world becomes more interconnected, as more people have to speak across languages. So that would be really, really interesting. Do we have any additional questions for Thomas? Because I've got lots. So I'm going to give you a minute, Andy, to see if there's anything else.
We do not have any additional questions at this moment. We'll give it a second, but I wanted to say, Microsoft demoed that translate feature as a standalone app probably about 4 years ago at the New York Tech Meetup when we were at Skirball, and it was just mind-blowing to see it translate instantaneously. And it's really amazing to see how they've incorporated it into so many different products that they have. And even just using PowerPoint, that's something that you can turn on quite easily, that translate ability within PowerPoint. So it's really great to see how it's being integrated into different parts of their business and different products overall.
Yeah, well, I'll end with then just kind of one comment on that kind of functionality. One thing that I think, and I know this is a lot of startups here at this meetup, but I think that's still one kind of open issue, is the fact that to do this kind of functionality, you have to use APIs from usually these big companies. And then the cost of providing those services is something that companies have to build in. There's a company, Spatial, that has this support, and I tried it out in VR, but they actually have to charge a premium to turn on the captions, and it's only captions for.
Did we lose Thomas?
We lost Thomas right at the most important part.
For the accessibility use cases, but
we lost
you, Thomas. So we didn't hear the very, very end.
It was all great. It was great. I was just saying we should advocate for the APIs that are necessary for accessibility solutions to be more affordable, or
that's a really good point.
Some other,
because like Azure gives credits to startups for like 300 grand for like an individual startup for their compute platform.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could they subsidize like their cognitive speech services, for example?
Right. Yeah. I think let's push for that. Thanks again.
It's all about getting started. It's all about getting started, because if you really think about where closed captioning was just 3 years ago, automatic closed captioning is now so accurate that there are times that I will prefer the automatic closed captioning to having a human transcription. I never would have been able to say this just 3 years ago. So the growth and the development of the technology is really exponential, but sometimes it's just about getting started. Thank you so much for that, Thomas. Always love hearing you talk. We have got our next speaker, Cameron, who is the Accessibility New York City Meetup co-founder. Cameron, are you ready to blow our minds today?
Ready to blow your minds today.
Yes. Let's do this.
Okay. Cameron, I'm a software engineer and accessibility professional. I work at LinkedIn as the tech lead on the accessibility engineering team, and I co-founded and co-organized the New York City Accessibility Meetup. I'm going to go ahead and share some slides. Bear with me. Do we see these slides?
Yes, I can see this. I can see it.
You see your screen?
I'm not able to see my slides, interestingly.
If you went full screen, you might need to slide yourself. Your Zoom is probably full screen as well, so it's on an alternate screen.
Could be. As we know, the perennial issue with meetups is the technology. So I go here. No.
Oh, wow. I feel like once people open a browser and it's DuckDuckGo, you immediately know that they're a tech person.
You got me. Okay, so on that note, I'm a huge nerd, as you may have already determined. what I'm going to talk about today is something, as we all know, is close to my heart, accessibility, as I already described, but specifically making it approachable. And I'm entitling this set of demos Cooking with Accessibility. It's inspired by this article from a guy named Robin Sloan. It's called An App Can Be a Home Cooked Meal. And I'm going to read an excerpt. The exhortation, learn to code, has its foundations in market value. Learn to code is suggested as a way up, a way out. Learn to code offers economic leverage, professional transformation. Learn to code goes on your resume. But let's substitute a different phrase, learn to cook. People don't only learn to cook so that they can become chefs, some do, but far more people learn to cook so they can eat better or more affordably or in a specific way. I think about accessibility and the work that I do adjacent to my day job as a home cook. And I want to share with you today some of the things that some of the meals I've prepared. I'm calling these recipes. Really, they are vignettes or hacks that use accessibility and accessibility APIs and try to apply the knowledge that I have about accessibility in sort of a unique and interesting way. The first hack recipe is called Alt Text Unfurl. And it took me about 3 hours, better part of an afternoon. And it's running in our Slack channel for web accessibility. I'm saying it serves 8,654 people because that's how many people are in the Slack. And what it is a Slack app that shows image alt text when a Twitter link is shared to a channel. It's composed of the Slack API, an AWS Lambda endpoint, and the Twitter API. And the way it works is when you add a link to a Twitter post that has an image in it, Slack automatically shows the image. You may have seen this in Slack before, like I post a link to Twitter and it'll just unfurl the contents of that tweet in line, but it does not unfurl alt text. So this app simply does that. It just adds the alt text from the image and puts it in line. And this is what it looks like. It's I've got a screenshot of Marcy Sutton posting a tweet that says sharing to test Secondo's new Twitter image alt text bot for Slack. And also because I like to verbally answer questions like Mr. Burns occasionally. And the alt text is Mr. Burns from The Simpsons with his fingers creepily touching and his balding head dipped with the caption, excellent, and a corresponding image. So the part at the bottom of the screen is added by alt text bot. Alt text unfurl, rather. The preparation steps, you can set this up in your own Slack organization. The repo is public on GitHub. You go clone the repo, add your API tokens, and just run the deploy command. Add the URL that it puts out to the screen into your Slack admin, and you'll get alt text bot. Alt text unfurl. I created something called alt text bot like 10 years ago, and I keep swapping that in, so forgive me. Here's another example of a meme image that says I'm just going to skip to the next one because I want to be conscious of time. Next one is Outlet Finder. This took me about 6 hours to make, and it serves 0 people. It was strictly an experiment and never launched it or did anything with it. It's an iOS app that detects electrical outlets, primarily geared at one person, a friend of mine who's blind, who expressed, just sort of dissatisfaction with finding somewhere to charge her phone when she was in a new space. So I took the default sample app for Xcode object detection, trained it on a couple of outlets around my apartment, and I'll show you what it came up with, what I came up with. So it's a kind of a silly thing, and never saw the light of day, and that's okay. Moving on. The last one is probably my favorite. It's called Malt Text. It's a Chrome plugin that detects missing or blank alt text in a page, and then when it finds one, it replaces the image with a big middle finger. And this is using JavaScript, CSS, and a little sprinkling of emoji. And this is what it looks like in action. I'm showing a screenshot of Pinterest.com. And I would say 8 out of 10 of the images have a big middle finger on them, because that's what you're saying to your screen reader users when you don't add alt text. Surprisingly, you know, maybe the White House didn't have any alt text on their images for the last administration. So in the spirit of diligence, I wanted to share that as well. So that's it. I think that cooking with accessibility can give us a way to learn and play and enjoy accessibility and accessibility technologies. And I think for two main reasons. One is to lower I hope to lower the barrier to learning about accessibility, thinking about it as any other set of technologies that we can experiment with and compose and deconstruct and hack with. And also so that we can, as individuals with disabilities, provide our own solutions to some of these digital accessibility problems. And that's a vast field into itself. Making, you know, VS Code has accessibility features that are evolving. Screen reader support for terminal applications so that people using screen readers can write code. So there's a whole domain there to talk about, but that's where I am for today. So follow me on Twitter. I post most of these experiments on my Twitter account on GitHub, and I'm looking forward to talking with you all after this as well.
Cameron, that was so fun. I loved it. I think my question to you is, as those questions come in from our audience, how did you get started doing this? So let's say I'm somebody and I'm just like, I'm so inspired by your presentation today. What would you encourage that I do after today's presentation to get started?
Yeah, I think being curious, I mean, that, and talking with people with disabilities, being a part of that community, all of the things that I work on are at least a nod to the disability community. And all of the technologies that I know about that I'm using, the accessibility object model, and the accessibility tree, and dictation technology, and alt text, like these are all things I know about because I am engaged in that community and have been practicing in that community. So on Twitter, you can follow the A11y hashtag. There's a bunch of people on Twitter who are super active in this space. You know, Apple has a handful of people, Microsoft has a handful of people that are developer advocates specifically in accessibility. Xbox has a super active accessibility platform and group. And also like just having an attitude of playfulness and discovery, and just treat it like a home cooked meal, you know, like you might not taste great, but it's part of it is the joy of creation.
And you mentioned terminology that I'm not sure everyone in our audience know, but you mentioned A11y. Can you tell our audience what that stands for?
Sure. A11y is a numeronym. It's a mechanism in language that allows you to make a word shorter by replacing all of the what are they, letters between the first and last letter with the number of letters that are between them. So for example, I think many people in product development, digital technology know of I18N. That's a numeronym for internationalization, or L8N is localization. L18N is localization. So A11y is a numeronym for accessibility.
Thank you so much for that, Cameron. Is there any closing points you want to share with us before we go into our next speaker for the day?
I would plug our accessibility meetup too, A11y NYC. We're big on inviting a diverse group of speakers, and we talk about a lot of this kind of thing every month on the first Tuesday. So I put a link in the chat, and I encourage you all to check us out. We have something coming up this Thursday, I believe. There's another question.
One of the things I will say is that I actually started my journey into tech accessibility at one of your meetups in New York in the before times. I actually went to a meetup. It was with Regine Gilbert. Blew my mind, absolutely. And so to now be hosting this event and to have both you and Thomas, it's just, oh my God, I'm on the right track. I'm doing the right stuff. So it feels really, really awesome.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. Andy, do you want me to respond? You want me to respond to that other question later?
We can take it at the end. We'll just keep
okay,
and then we'll circle back.
All right, so thank you so much for that, Cameron. So our next speaker, Kamal, are you ready? Or we can go to Blaine and then go back to Q. Oh, you're good, Q? All right, so Q is one of my fellow alumni from NYU. He was at a panel with Knowbility just a few weeks ago, and you guys better brace yourselves, because Q is powerful. Woo! Q, so you work at the MTA. Tell us all the things. We are here to listen.
Thank you so much, Mariella. And also thank you, Andy, and folks for inviting me to talk. It's truly a pleasure to be sharing this platform with you all. I was really excited when Mariella reached out with this opportunity to chat, because I love sharing ideas. I really do believe an ethos that my old boss, Polly Trottenberg, instilled in me, which was that the best policies come from within the communities. And speaking to folks, end users like many of you all who are watching, many of us on this panel, we know what we need. We know what's out there for the most part, and we know what we'd like to see created. So I absolutely jumped at the opportunity to have this conversation. I am Quamel Arroyo, as you heard from Mariella, and I do have the pleasure of serving as the MTA's very first Chief Accessibility Officer. It is quite an honor, truly a pleasure to really help pave the road for over 1 million New Yorkers registered with some type of disabilities, to be able to speak, their experiences and really add their voice, fold their trajectory into the design process, into the conversation here at the MTA. This is the first time that the MTA has someone in this capacity where I'm looking at accessibility throughout the entire organization, Metro North, Long Island Railroad, and all that is New York City Transit and bridges and tunnels. But one of the things that I really like to focus on and talk a lot about here is the fact that technology does provide us an opportunity to close the gaps of inequality in our society. And when I first started saying that when I was at DOT, people looked at me like I was crazy. And there's so many voices, so many naysayers that like to talk about equity and the expense and smartphones and Wi-Fi. And listen, I am well aware that Wi-Fi fiber optics was designed in New York City along Park Avenue, and the farther away you get from Park Avenue, the crappier your service gets. With Verizon and Altis and others, things are getting better. but that's the reality of where we live. And I'm so happy that companies like Intel are working with the Department of Education to create VPNs so that students can have a network to get, to the internet, to get to secure platforms that they can browse and do their homework and do what they need to do. And that includes people with disabilities. So I am all about folding technology into the transportation experience. And we're doing so already. For those of you who have come back to ride the train like me, I want to say thank you. And those of you who are doing it know that we started awesome announcements on the transit, in the transit systems, that now you get accessibility information of the station, the next station, before the train even gets there. That is so helpful, not only to the disability community, but to anybody who has any access needs and wants to know if the next station is accessible, if the elevator is working. Parents, tourists, so many people who make use of that information. In the Long Island Railroad, we recently rolled out a new feature on our Long Island Railroad app that allows you to see in real time the capacity in each car of the arriving train before the train gets to the station. And we did that during the time of COVID to really help folks understand where they might have, the least interaction with other people. That middle seat was always a hard sell, and it continues to be. But during COVID, people are really concerned about proximity to others. So we wanted to let people where they had the best chance of having a seat for themselves. And really what that translated to someone like me who uses a wheelchair is that I also knew where I would have the best chance of finding an accessible spot because the cart wasn't crowded. It was something that I saw in Oslo 2 years ago. And I just love that the tech team in Long Island Railroad was able to jump, to the task and deliver that for New Yorkers. A great feature and more to come, right? But that's real-time technology that's now translated to all of our riders, again, before a train even arrives at a station. Great information in real time, only available because of leveraging technology and the platforms that we have available to us. But it doesn't end there. Technology also gives us an opportunity to allow a cognitively impaired person the opportunity to learn about the layout of a train system from the comfort of whatever space they best take information in from. That means that we're working with different companies and for proprietary reasons, I can't really disclose much of what we're doing right now, the companies themselves, but we're working with companies that are going to allow a cognitively impaired person the opportunity to navigate a station, find out how to have a successful outcome, successful navigation of a very complex station from the comfort of their home or wherever they best learn before they get out of that space, before they enter the station itself. And they're surrounded by hundreds, thousands of people, overwhelmed with noise, smell, all that, we love about a transit system. That is what accessibility means to me too. Allowing people the opportunity, the information that they need to be successful. And I am the biggest proponent of, adding more Wi-Fi. The governor was right when he really pushed for Wi-Fi in our transit system, because Wi-Fi allows a visually impaired pedestrian to continue to be independent in their navigation throughout our subway system. And I'll say that again, visually impaired people have now found the world at their, at the tips of their fingers with an iPhone. The iPhone's the hottest stuff since sliced bread for the visually impaired community because it allows them to be independent, navigating to their destination without having to ask anyone for help because of all the fun tools that are in there that are really well designed and embedded in that design is accessibility. Totally integral, totally a part of the UX, UI, and that's why I'm now trying to leverage our real-time information apps for buses and subways to, of course, be as accessible as possible. But as we mentioned earlier, we need to advertise these things. Not a lot of people know that these things exist. One of my goals here at the MTA is ensuring that any piece of information that is visible is also provided in an audible format, because there are a lot of people with low vision in their system that might not have the sight even to see a high vis, a data screen or real-time transit information signs. So really providing text to audio, audio to text, and dare I say, in this safe community, I want to see sign. No system in the world has sign communication. And I will be very honest that I am very concerned about, our folks who have, no hearing abilities, that rely on seeing things, that rely on sign language, and particularly during a case of emergency, an emergency situation, I want to be able to communicate to these people what to do, so that they don't feel stranded, so that they don't feel alone, and so that they don't have to rely on a good Samaritan to be near them who understands sign. So those are just some of the things that we're doing here at the MTA, really looking to leverage technology, really looking to leverage the Wi-Fi in our transit system to deliver real-time information to our passengers. And I say again to all of our passengers, because to me, accessibility is not analogous to disabilities. Yes, I happen to be a New Yorker with a disability, but I am the first to tell you that accessibility also includes the 1.5 million plus New Yorkers over the age of 65. Very few of whom would tell you, would be honest about the fact that they don't hear or see like they once used to. And in addition to that, over 60 million tourists a year, 10% of whom have a disability. That's, a lot of people, millions of tourists coming in with disabilities. It is my job to give them access to information in their language, in their modality of receiving, information, and technology is the best medium for me to ensure that I can speak to them in a way that they understand, that they hear. And thank you again. I'd love if people have some questions. Absolutely, let's make it interactive.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Kamali. It is awesome to have you here. So while we wait for questions to trickle in from Andy, the one question I have for you is, the MTA has a lot of changes in the work. I love that the person leading these changes is you. I love that. So as a person that uses public transportation, the world is opening up again. What are some of the things that I can do to make your job easier? What can I do as a transit user to make sure that those things that you are supporting, those policies, that technology actually goes out there and that's what it's supposed to do?
Well, the first thing I'll say is get involved with your elected officials. Today's election day, folks. Get out and vote. This is the biggest power that you all have. And please don't throw it away, because every time you do, you give your voice to somebody else to make decisions for you. So get out and vote. And after today, tell your elected officials how important transit accessibility is to you all, so that they continue to fund me and give me more than what they give me now, because I can always use more money to roll out projects faster and expand on what we're already doing. We have a lot going on here at the MTA, but I am always supported by folks telling their elected officials how important of an issue accessible transportation is. And beyond that, talk to me. Mariella, I will be the first person to tell you that I am not an expert in all disabilities. I am the Chief Accessibility Officer here, so my job is to facilitate a conversation about the needs and changes that we want to see happen at the MTA. And the only way that y'all can ensure that I am covering your needs is by engaging with me. I have an amazing team of folks who are more than willing to have the conversation. I have an amazing group called ACTA, an advisory committee for transit accessibility of individuals who represent groups of people, organizations who are really my conduit to the disability communities, to all the groups, ensuring that I hear from the public so that your needs, your voices, and the change that you want to see happen at the MTA is communicated to me and my team. So get engaged. My door's open. Email me, text. I'm on IG, I'm on Twitter, I'm all over the place. Get at me.
I love it. So anybody listening to this, reach out to Kamal. He is absolutely cool. We've got one final question. This one is a little heavy, so brace yourself. And the question is, how well are you supported within the MTA? And how much funding is being applied to your efforts?
That is a great question. Thank you so much. And it's actually very well, tethered to my call to action to asking all viewers to reach out to your elected officials, because they give us our budget. And depending on the budget that the MTA gets, I get my budget. But I am really proud to say that the MTA is currently well into the 2020-2024 capital plan. And in this capital plan, we have the largest investment for accessibility, $5.2 billion. $5.2 billion over that time frame has been earmarked to go towards accessibility enhancement and accessible projects. I really rely on you all to tell your elected officials that we need that money. So come through, because I have earmarked all this money. My team and I and the entire MTA family is willing, ready, and anxious to continue to put out projects at the pace that we have. But we're rolling on the assumption that the money is going to come through. So my level of commitment from my peers, from my boss, the chairman and CEO, is at an ultimate high. And I want to ask for your support to ensure that I get what I'm due, that we get what we're due, and that we receive what we think is coming, because my team is right there next to me. The support that I get is unparalleled. Truly, I report directly to the chairman and CEO of the MTA, which means that I am at the very top of the totem pole here at the MTA. My peers who did not know about accessibility now know that they have a responsibility under the ADA, and it is my job to educate them on what that responsibility is. And like I said before, I am not here to do everybody's job. I'm here to facilitate a conversation. So because of that, I'm here to build resource both internally and externally. My peers are so happy to have me here. I engage with everybody down from the chairman and downwards and across, and really I have a great team of people who are very passionate about what they do and are eager to learn and make sure that the end product is what all New Yorkers want to see.
Woo! Come on, we need to sit down in New York City and grab a drink, because I just love talking with you. So thank you so much, Q. We are going to pass it on, and anybody that needs to reach out to Q, you heard the man. Reach out to him, tweet, email, get in contact. Last but not least, we are going to transition over to our last demo of the day. Blaine, are you ready to come up?
I am ready. Are you able to see me?
All right, I am able to see you. All right, take us away for our last presentation.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome to be here. This is my first meeting we're actually based in Atlanta. So thank you for having a Southerner to be a part of this. I am the founder of Dubbot. So Dubbot is an automated web accessibility checking tool. We do checks on top of web accessibility, but obviously that's what we will be focusing on today. I'm going to share my screen now, giving a quick demonstration of what this product does. Dubbot, being an automated accessibility checking tool, is only a part of what our clients use as kind of their portfolio for web accessibility checking. Of course, they do manual checking and things along those lines, like the services that Thomas was talking about earlier that their company does. I came from a background of content management. So for 15 years, worked with a content management company and fell in love with accessibility. And I also saw a need in the market for a tool like what we have. There are competitors for what we do. Those competitors charge way too much and make this kind of accessibility checking tool inaccessible to companies that are small or colleges that don't have the budget. So that's the gap that we have been able to fill. My company is now 3 years old. We serve everything from higher ed to startup companies, to Fortune 500 companies. So really, if you have a website, this is something that can be utilized. I'm showing right now the dashboard for a pretty vanilla website. I just wanted to keep it short and sweet. This is just our demo website. But what our tool will do is every 7 days, or really whatever cadence you want it to do, it will go out and will check your website and will check for any kinds of violations for WCAG. So that's the web accessibility, it's the compliance that it's checking against, or those rules that it's checking against. So every 7 days, any of the users in an organization that subscribe to this or that have an account will get an email, and it will give them a report and a listing of what their, what the scores are for, within, or, what's been found with this tool. There are, you can check for broken links and spelling and things along those lines. But here we can see, I want to go in and look at accessibility issues that have been found. And of course, I need to authenticate myself. Never a dull moment during a demo to have to authenticate myself. So going back in. Back to my demo. So I can now go in to my accessibility panel and find all the accessibility rules or violations that are being flagged. This is checking for levels A, AA. There are some AAA rules that can be automated. A lot of them do still need kind of manual intervention. On top of that, we have the ability to write policies. And so a policy a lot of times falls upon the organization of what they want to find, what they are looking for within pages. And so I'll go in and show a little bit more about each of these. I am seeing now, I'm going to go to this student life page for this fictitious college that we have. But I can click. Really, this is a capture of the page that's on the website. And then we can see the different rules that are either being violated or could be being violated. I will click on one of those and we'll see that it will scroll down. It will highlight within the page what's going on. This tool itself is accessible. It's something that we have it tested. We have users that have vision impairments that will test this for us. But you can see here is where this issue that was a color contrast issue on the page, it gives us the foreground and background colors. So it gives some more information based on that. Here's another rule. A tool like this, if something has alt text associated with it, even if that alt text is something that is not descriptive enough, it won't flag it. Well, you can write rules to look for descriptive alt text, or you can look to see if perhaps the alt text matches what the file name is. Someone just was lazy and just put in whatever the file name is, what was for their alt text. And so this we can go in to go ahead and identify where the issue is. Last thing I'll show is that we do have a task mechanism or tasking kind of mechanism tool that will allow you, when you find issues, you're able to send those issues or assign those issues to different users within your organization. Maybe if you're working with a third party, or maybe you are the third party, you can have those. You can have something sent to you where you can see here. I've said, please take a look at this for me. Well, this is something that if I were to look at a different issue, we can see where I could start a task. And so I can say, I want to create a new task here and have that sent to someone else. So I wanted to keep that short and sweet. And I will also apologize. I wore the worst shirt possible for a web demonstration, the worst pattern. So I apologize for being the worst dressed out of all the speakers. But happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, Blaine. So I guess I will start with the first question. So what can I do before I go to your tool to kind of test, so that I feel like I'm one of those people that when I get a bad score, I'm like, I'm a terrible human being. So what can I do before I go to your tool to kind of do a little pre-check?
A little pre-check. There are tools that are out there that I'm sure many people have heard of the Wave plugin for Chrome. There's another one that is the Axe extension that is quite powerful, and I would recommend that one, for engineers. That's a good way of just kind of brushing up on what a tool like this could help you to do. That will do it more on on a page-by-page basis. That is one. It's something that we are happy as an organization to do. It's not really a consultation, but more something where we can check some of your pages for you, and we can give you an explanation of what you're seeing. Having it be, having the news coming from a tool is pretty blunt. So to have something where we have, a client services team that can help you to kind of understand that, but also to know really how you can remediate that. So those are a couple of different hints that I would give.
And if I try this tool and I see that, oh my goodness, I've got a terrible score on my website is not accessible, what happens next?
What happens next is always up to you. It is something where there are plenty of wonderful organizations that can help with consultation. We don't do the services part, but there are certainly people that will help with remediation. But really, it is the first step, to go out to see that you do have issues. There are probably more issues that are not even being identified by this tool, but take it with a grain of salt and know that other organizations are in the same boat as you, and really you have to start somewhere. And so this tool and other tools that are like this are a good first step at getting you to understanding what the issues are and what needs to be done to fix them.
This reminds me of what I was speaking with Thomas regarding the closed captioning. It's very often about just getting started and understanding like what is your foundation so that you can then build on it. I am so happy you're creating this tool. I feel like we're going to have a whole conversation on this because I'm really curious on what your thoughts are on overlay, since I feel like there's a bit of a crossover that I feel like we may go over time. So Andy, we are at time, just at time. How do you want us to move forward from here?
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation across the board. I'm going to add the speakers that are still here to the video just so we can see everybody in one spot, and say a quick thank you to everybody who made it this evening for this wonderful, wonderful event. I had so much fun putting this event together. I've learned so much. I've been, slowly trying to educate myself in this area, and, it's trying to be a good ally. So I'm trying to make those first steps and being an ally to this community and be, part of it is that we're seeing tonight. One of the issues is the messaging, getting more awareness out, getting it out to a bigger populations, and we're hoping that New York Tech Alliance can help spread that word. So thank you, each of you, for the wonderful presentations this evening. We will be recapping it and sending it into our newsletter. So if you have an ask for the community or an offer for the community, make sure that you get it to me and we'll include it in the next edition of the newsletter. I know that Thomas had to run, but I saw him in the air meet. I think there's a few people in the air meet as well. A very quick thank you to Mariella for being such a wonderful host and MC. A very quick thank you to Xandr for supporting the events and being here with their recruiting team. If you're looking for a job, be sure to connect with them. They have a lot of really fantastic opportunities in the tech industry. And yeah, with that, I'm just gonna say thank you so much. It's such I feel very honored to have been introduced to these wonderful speakers, this great panel of conversations. We hope that you leave inspired, a little bit more educated, some great tech tools. And Blaine, we need to have a conversation as well. So before we wrap up though, I want you to go around and just say one quick thing that someone who's new to the accessibility field could do just to start the journey. So I'm going to start with Blaine.
Sure. One thing you can do, reach out. Really, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I am happy to go through. I can give a demo, but I can also go through and just talk about the people that we work with, the different clients that we have. We have some amazing people that we work with at these different organizations that we have. So just to be able to highlight those in a discussion, I think would help. It gives context for the people that we serve. So I think that, and the actionable thing is reach out to me on LinkedIn, whatever it might be.
Awesome. We shared your information in the Air Meet chat. So we'll be connecting. Cameron.
Yeah, I think that the main takeaway I mentioned already is join a meetup. There are accessibility meetups in Seattle and the Bay Area, obviously New York City meetup. Internationally, go and either digitally, probably still, but go and meet people and have conversations and expand your community. And the New York City Accessibility Meetup is a great place to start. But wherever you are, if there's not something there, then you can be the one to start it. Because, part of what I would encourage people to do is to be adventurous and be brave, and don't be afraid to get it wrong sometimes, because you're gonna, and the only way to get there is to try. So join a meetup or start one yourself, and be a part of the community and dive in.
Awesome, thank you. Cameron?
Cameron, you really stole mine. Mariella, no, it's one of my themes is diving in, because the invite will never get to you. But hey, I think I want to speak to Andy and to others in business. I come from the world of finance. I started working at Merrill Lynch and then Morgan Stanley before I got to government. And I'm sorry you said quick, but I'm in government. We don't know that. But that is. But I will try to be brief. My message to you, Andy, and to everyone here from entrepreneurs or from corporations, from the business world, I would say invest in accessibility tools, not only because it's the right thing to do, it's the law, it will deliver bountiful, in what you'll get in return from experiencing the original hackers, which are people with disabilities. We are the original hackers because we wake up and start hacking a very debilitating world that is not designed for us at all. So we're hacking every day. But lastly, if you don't want to do it because it's the right thing to do, or because you want to really expand your stakeholders and deliver good services and products to everyone that could be a stakeholder or is and you might not know, then do it because you're leaving money behind when you don't do this. The disability community, how do I say it properly? We ain't that broke. And we will spend our green where we feel welcome, where we feel that we are part of not only the dialogue, but the dance floor. That you hear the analogy all the time, don't invite me to the party if the dance floor is not accessible. I tell a story about my coworkers inviting me to happy hours all the time, at inaccessible happy hours. And so I will repeat that. If you don't do it because it's the right thing to do and the law, or because you want to service your stakeholders, then do it because you're leaving money behind when you continue the system of inaccessible spaces. Thank you.
Awesome, great advice. And Mariella, close us out with your.
The closing thought I have is really and this is my ethos in life, do what you can, where you are, with what you have. That's it. If you are somebody that is in a position of hiring people with disabilities, if you are somebody that is in a position to employ people with disabilities, do that. If the least you can do is make sure that your Instagram video has closed captioning, do that, but always focus on what you have, where you are, and what resources are available to you so that you can be a better ally. Don't worry about 10 years from now. 10 years from now is going to happen. Focus right now, today, in this very moment, starting right now on what you can do, and start there.
Awesome, great advice. And I love that quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. And just amazing. So again, thank you so much to everybody here, and for everybody who participated in the audience. We are here